Yo, what's happening? Welcome. It is just past 9:30. It is Tuesday night, and you're hanging out with Johnny Gaz. How's life? How you doing? How's your fam? Hope everything's good. Welcome to Johnny Gaz Live. I appreciate you joining me. We're going to have a fun night tonight. Pistons just wrapped up in Cleveland. Unfortunately, they just dropped their contest to the Cavaliers 113-109. Kind of an up and down performance. The Pistons did battle back, but unfortunately, that untimely shooting got to them yet again. Cavaliers shot the ball well in the clutch. Pistons not so much. Had a couple weird turnovers. And unfortunately, the Pistons did drop this game to the Cavaliers 113-109. So that Pistons road winning streak does come to an end. Jalen Duren with 24 points, 14 rebounds, leading the charge for the Pistons. I don't want to really call it a down night for Cade Cunningham because he did have 14 assists. But the Pistons do drop this contest to the Cleveland Cavaliers 113-109. We will talk about that in a little bit more detail. We have a ton of fun stuff to get into tonight. Our big topic of the day, building a champion. Of course, we have a ton of Lions news to get into. We'll spend a lot of time on our Detroit Lions here this evening and discuss if the recent moves they've made, if this puts them closer to a championship in 2026. So I'd love to hear from you guys, see how you feel. Let me know how you guys are doing. What's up, Detroit fan, man? How you doing, buddy? As I was wondering what kind of trouble I could get into tonight, a Johnny Gaz stream sounds perfect. I like it, buddy. I appreciate you. So, yeah, the Pistons, unfortunately, did drop this one to the Cavs after all the back and forth and sort of the trash talk the Cavs were spewing out there over the last week or so since the last time the Pistons and Cavs met up. Now, to their credit, the Cavaliers were again without Donovan Mitchell in this matchup. They did have James Harden. They did have their other players at their disposal. And, again, they shot the ball well. And that's really been what's happening with the Pistons here lately is their style of winning almost disputes the norm. I mean, the Pistons were winning despite bad shooting. In the contest the other night, they went 0 for 15 to start the game from three-point land, 1 of 18 in the first half. But yet we're still able to come out of that game with a victory. Now, tonight, Isaiah Stewart was back for the first time, so they got a little bit of energy influx from him this evening, but it didn't make the ultimate difference in his first game back. We'll see sort of how they reacclimate him back into the rotation over the next week or so and see if that kind of rounds back into form. And Stewart obviously doesn't resolve the Pistons shooting problems. And again, I'll say it, I don't want him paint the picture based on one game. Pistons versus Cavaliers isn't going to make or break the season. We'll forget about this one as we get closer to the playoffs, but the truth is the Pistons, as they're battling back, had an opportunity to tie the game 108-105. The ball goes to Ausir Thompson. Unfortunately, he misses that clutch shot. Cade Cunningham then has a turnover, and things started to unravel. Pistons not able to pull out the victory there in Cleveland, but it's just that moment in time where they have to have a shot. Not only Ausir Thompson, Duncan Robinson had a shot at it late in the game as well, and he missed. It's when they really, truly needed it most this evening where they couldn't get it done. And that's sort of the big picture for the Detroit Pistons. So let me know, guys. Let me know what you're thinking about the Detroit Pistons. You think their shooting problems is a much bigger issue, or do you think that they can lean on their strengths, which has been protecting the paint, points in the paint on offense, and the fact that they're willing to continue to play for each other? I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think. I guess the one thing that the Pistons can lean on is J.B. Bickerstaff. He continues to support no matter what's happening with this team. He was asked about their shooting woes after performance the other night. This was prior to the loss today. And he, again, continued to support the positive side of this team and what they can lean into. And that, to me, is such a big telling sign for what the Pistons could be here this season, because they have the backing of a potential coach of the year candidate in JB Bickerstaff. He leaned on the elite paint scoring, physical defense, and then their transition play, which is dominant. But in a game like today, where they did have a good defensive performance, especially in the fourth quarter, it wasn't enough against one of the more quality opponents, and they still weren't fully staffed as far as the Cleveland Cavaliers are concerned. They didn't have Donovan Mitchell. So, we'll have to see kind of what happens with this Pistons team. One game doesn't make or break anything. They had a good road streak going. You can't win all of your road games. It's just life in the NBA. So we'll have to see if the Pistons are able to bounce back. I think the only issue is that they do have to play the Spurs in a few days on March 5th. So they're gearing up for another high-quality opponent. They did lose to the Spurs last week. So potentially a look-ahead game for the Pistons. We'll have to see how they respond on the road against San Antonio on March 5th. So we'll come back and visit that one. And just remember, guys, we're live Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Variety of Detroit sports content. If you haven't visited the channel before, thank you so much for coming around. If you've been here, I appreciate you so much. Make sure to get involved in chat. Hit that like button. It's the best free way to help out the stream. If you haven't already, share that out to your pages. Let's get your friends, family involved. Let's talk some Detroit Lions football, some Detroit sports. I appreciate you guys. Appreciate everyone who is involved in Johnny Gaz Live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So yeah, Pistons unfortunately dropped this one to Cleveland today, 113-109. We'll leave our Pistons topic because I think another fun topic is what's happening right now with the Detroit Tigers. Now, they played the Dominican team today in preparation for the World Baseball Classic. And unfortunately, I didn't have the final here in front of me. But what is amazing is the play of Kevin McGonigle, who basically was their offense early on in that game. And through spring so far, he is tearing the cover off the ball. And although he's only 21 years old and he really hasn't played any AAA ball, and typically when you come up in the Tiger system, you don't surpass AAA, Kevin McGonigle is now putting himself in the light of where he should be, in my opinion, the Tiger starting shortstop. I mean, they made significant moves this offseason, the Tigers did, for their pitching staff to round that back in, to set their five, to make sure their bullpen was still steady. But the question remained, did they do enough with their bats? And I wonder if they felt they didn't need to do much because of the talent they have coming up in their system. Obviously, Kevin McGonigle at 21, I don't know that they expected this from him so quickly, but right now in spring training, he is really making a difference. The defense is rounding into form, and the bat is what is truly impressive. He opened up today's game with a home run and an RBI single. And Detroit's system is just loaded right now with top 10 prospects. Kevin McGonigle being the number 2 prospect in all of baseball. Max Clark behind him made some news this week as well. Max Clark took some slack from the Atlanta Braves announcing team because Max Clark does wear a large set of chains, solid diamond chains, man. I mean, you can't knock the look, but the truth is he's an up-and-coming player and he's working himself into the Tiger system. And that particular game, he didn't play very well. So it was kind of spotlighted that such a young guy coming into camp or spring training, rocking that kind of jewelry, that kind of look, just wouldn't exist 15 years ago. But today's baseball isn't the same. I don't necessarily look at that the same way. I don't judge someone because they dress or look a certain way or if they wear a certain piece of jewelry. It's all about what you put out on the field. So to me, it's more about the plays he didn't make that day rather than what he's wearing around his neck. But outside of all that, Max Clark is a plus defender. He's got speed. He is a future everyday center fielder. He's got that potential for the Tigers, so certainly he's in the mix. Bryce Rainier, if I'm saying that right, another young middle infielder that they have a lot of high hopes for. Joshua Brasino, am I saying that right? Another one. Switch hitting cornerback. climbed out of AA last season and has shown really strong extra base hitting potential. So guys that could come up through the system. But my main topic for this one is really Kevin McGonigle, and should he then be a part of the opening day roster? Has he earned it at this point? I really want to hear from you guys in chat. If you've been following it all with spring training and Tiger baseball, is Kevin McGonigle put himself in a situation where he should be the starting shortstop for the Tigers on opening day? Let me know. Going back to the Pistons, Detroit fan man says, I wanted to stay above 500 in this crazy 6-game run ending at the Spurs. Yep, we already 3-2. Tonight's lame, but this team is very fun to watch. Oh, it absolutely is, Detroit fan man. And I'm with you. I mean, this is a tough stretch of games. So, this Spurs game will tell us a lot of how tough this team really is. Coming off of this loss especially, it almost sets it up perfectly to where you're really going to see what the Pistons are made of. And I trust that they'll come out firing. So it should be a fun night. Thursday night. That'll be great. That'll be definitely appointment viewing for sure. And the nice thing is we'll be live again Thursday night, so we'll be able to kind of keep track of that game just like we do here on all the lives on Johnny Gaz Sports. Appreciate you guys. But going back to the Tigers, realistically, I know I laid out a couple players there, but realistically, McGonigle and potentially Clark are the closest to truly having their MLB debut. Clark, I don't know if it'll be an opening day situation. That might be later on in the season. And those other guys are maybe more mid to long term. But the truth is they have up-and-coming young bats in the system that they are excited about. You hope that they progress quickly because the truth is they need those bats in the lineup. Hopefully, if they make a run and get close to the playoffs, some of these guys might be able to make an impact later on in the season. But I really believe Kevin McGonigle has the tools to do it right now. I really believe that. A game like today with the warm-up with the World Baseball Classic, I mean, he's facing quality MLB pitching, and he's showing that he can hang. He's a professional hitter. What up, Don't Know? How you doing, buddy? A little late, but I made it. Hey, no worries. No worries at all. You know what that deserves? That deserves... my friend, I appreciate you. We had Don't Know Grit on the show last Thursday. It was a lot of fun. We were talking the Detroit Lions' perfect offseason. We talked about draft strategy. We talked about potential free agents. That was all before the big news over the last couple days, which we will dive into here in just a moment. Ooh, is it really? Don't know. I thought for sure you've earned a gong before. You certainly have earned many gongs, but today you deserve one, my friend. So I'm glad you were able to get your gong itch. Let's earn more gongies. Let's quickly talk about the Red Wings. I think it's important we touch on them because it's a big topic coming out of a press conference that the head coach Todd McClellan had coming out of a recent loss. Now, the Red Wings were able to get a victory over the Nashville Predators on Monday, 4-2. Emmett Finney breakthrough finally after I think it was 23 games. He had a drought since December. He gave the Wings an early lead. John Gibson exited the game with an upper body injury, so that's a little bit concerning. We want to keep our eyes and ears on that one because that's truly, I think, what's been making the difference with the Wings and potentially making a true push towards the playoffs this season is John Gibson. And if he's not available, that changes a lot of things. So we'll have to monitor and see where he's at. I'll keep you posted on the channel with his status. He did exit the game there. But Detroit still grinded this one out. Alex DeBrincat sealed the game with an empty netter, making it 4-2. Both him and Raymond, kind of the stars of the game there, both with 2 points apiece. But I think the thing is that the Red Wings have been inconsistent. Even coming out of the Olympic break, they had the big win, but then were really dominated in Carolina. And it was after that game against the Hurricanes, Red Wings had lost 5-2, where Todd McClellan came out and really didn't hold back. I came out with a short this week that sort of outlined what this meant and what this could mean for the Red Wings. But what he said, and I'll paraphrase, is that some guys are out there trying really hard. Other guys are just wearing the Red Wing jersey. And I think what he meant by that ultimately was that he needs to see better effort from some of the other players. And he didn't name anybody specifically. But the other part of this was, could that be more than just directed at players? Could it be Todd McClellan calling out upper management, calling out Steve Yzerman, or suggesting that we need to make a move? We need to add more pieces, more guys that aren't just jerseys, that are willing to contribute. Now, they may not make several moves, but I think there is a move to be made out there. I think it would benefit them most to get some sort of large defenseman, but they could also use another forward. So let's see what Steve Yzerman can cook up here as we get closer to the trade deadline. I think it's Friday. So we'll know maybe Thursday afternoon. If we get any news, I'll keep you posted there. But the Red Wings, again, are in a very similar position to where, you know, they're sitting in a good playoff spot right now. But if they continue to be inconsistent, they may slowly dip out of this. And I think they want to put themselves in a situation where they're clearly in the playoffs. So can Detroit sustain effort and consistency down the stretch? Can they get something going? Will this tough love by the coach spark something? Maybe it already has, as they did get the victory in the next game. And how does this team continue to respond? Will the organization make a move to add another key piece so that this team has the confidence going in to the playoffs? It's been a long time, Red Wings fans. I really want this for you, not only for myself, but for Red Wings fans in general. I have a lot of family members that spend a lot of time invested in the Detroit Red Wings, and for them especially, I want this to work out. So let's see what happens as we get closer to the trade deadline. Can the Red Wings find more consistency towards the end of the season and push this thing, building a champion, right? That's what we're talking about today. Todd McClellan, the coach, knows he has good pieces, but they need more. And I think that might be why he's saying what he said. And in essence, he's trying to build himself a champion. Let's see if Steve Yzerman responds. Lupe, what's happening, buddy? I think it's a great time to transition. You asked a great question. Why don't we flip over to our main topic of the day? So our main topic of the day, Lupe brings up a great question. It's a good start. He says, Johnny, how do you feel about Connor, the running back that was released from Arizona, coming to Detroit? Also, I feel that if we draft a tight end high in the draft, then we will more than likely not sign Laporta. Let me start with your questions there. I appreciate you, Lupe. Thank you for getting involved in the chat. I like the idea of Connor, a running back, coming to Detroit. Obviously, the big news of the last several days is that the Detroit Lions traded David Montgomery to the Houston Texans. In return, they get a 4th-round pick in 2026, a 7th-rounder in 2027, and the interior offensive lineman center guard combo Juice Scruggs. It does create a hole in this running back 2 or the backup running back position because the Lions are kind of thin with Sione Vaki and Sailors. It's just not a guy you're going to put in there and trust. But I guess the nice thing is, as the Lions look for whoever this running back 2 will be, they are not looking for a premier running back. They're really looking for a ground and pound kind of guy, someone who can pass protect, maybe get out in space and catch a pass or two when they need to, but ultimately be that short yardage back. Now, can James Conner be that guy? And I sort of question that. He has an injury history. Lions love guys with injury histories. But more than anything, Lupe, and I think the point of this is he has the relationship with Drew Petzing to where it would make a lot of sense to bring a guy like James Conner in. And I don't know, Grid is still in the chat. You need to give me the other name because there is another running back with the Cardinals that's also a free agent that I think they may be interested as well, who is a little bit more of a bruiser even than Connor. But that familiarity in the system would make him a very attractive free agent for the Lions. So could I see them making that move? Yes. Do I see them making that move? No. So it doesn't really answer your question, but I wouldn't hate it. It would make a ton of sense. Your other question was about Sam Laporta and the tight end. I don't know how high in the draft they'd be willing to take a tight end. There is a tight end that I think a lot of teams will clamor for in the first round, but I don't think the Lions should get into that mix. So to me, if they can find someone later on in the draft, it would give them fuel not to have to worry about the Sam Laporta thing. Right now, as it stands, Lupe, I would say the Lions are probably going to let Sam Laporta walk. He might be the one candidate where they let play through his rookie contract and just go elsewhere, because his back injury is a question mark. Tight end is a replaceable position. You just don't want to have to pay top dollar to every single spot in your offense, and that might be one you're willing to let go. Yeah, this is great information. Don't know. Says Connor is on the wrong side of 30, but probably won't come cheap. Maybe if the market wants to give him even less because he's coming off a season-ending injury, but that would be a concern. Yeah, I mean, I'm never worried that the Lions won't take a risk on an injury guy, because they do it all the time. That doesn't concern me at all. The money is what I think will be the biggest factor in that one. Does Drew Petzing, does that entice him to come here? And if so, take maybe a Detroit discount? I don't know. Probably not in Connor's situation, because he's going to want to get paid. This might be his last big contract. Detroit Fan Man says, for me, running back is a young man's game. So give me a day 3 draft guy, maybe Katron Allen out of Penn State. Emmett Johnson looks good too, but I'm a sucker for Big Ten backs. Amen, man. Well, that's another big question here as we kind of transition away from the David Montgomery news. It does put Jahmyr Gibbs now as the bell cow, if you will. I mean, he was already the number one back, and the share of the carries were going to Gibbs, and that was the direction, and partly why I think David wanted out. And we'll get into that here in just a minute. But what is the long term even with Jahmyr Gibbs? I think this sets up to where they're going to pay him, right? I mean, they let David go, or he wanted out and they accommodated. So that would tell me they're going to probably pay Jahmyr Gibbs. But is that the real best case scenario for them? Should they do that? Paying running backs is never, it's a risky business. Let's put it that way. It's one hit away from ending a career. There's only a select few guys that are really true 3-down backs that play every down. There aren't many backs like Jahmyr Gibbs on the other side of this. But again, you had years ahead. You could franchise tag. There's ways you could make this work that isn't just granting him the highest contract for a running back. But the other side, again, is if you wait, the longer the Lions wait, the larger that running back contract gets. So if the idea is they're going to pay him anyways, then the sooner the better. But I would just watch it. But I'll be here for you guys. What do you think? The David Montgomery exit mean the Lions have to pay Jahmyr Gibbs? Do they do that sooner than later? Is that the smart move? So what would you do with Jahmyr Gibbs now at this point? Obviously, he's the number one back. They're going to feature him this year. He's still under rookie contract for a few more seasons, so they have options. But now he's the guy, truly the one guy. Thank you, Don't Know. He says Michael Carter is the other guy's name. But he's only 5'8" and just about 200 pounds. Yeah, probably not an ideal fit either, but I think he's more of that David Montgomery type of a runner. But I wouldn't go that route. I'm not saying go get Michael Carter. I'm not endorsing that. Johnny Gaz Sports is not endorsing that at all. Don't Know says, my content night will be about my favorite choice for a free agent back. Ooh, I like that. Definitely go check out at Don't Know Grit, YouTube, all the socials, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you for coming on. You'll be back on real soon, hopefully, if you'll allow me to have you. Lupe says, if we don't get someone to wear down the defense, then Gibbs is not going to make it long term. Also, have we ever used Vaki as a safety or just as a running back? No, I don't think the Lions had ever tried him at safety. Maybe I'm trying to knock my brain a little bit. Potentially in training camp in his first season, but I don't think that was at all a part of last offseason. I mean, I like Vaki a lot. I mean, special teams, he's a player. And I think he could give you something as a running back, but he's not what David Montgomery was giving you. In regards to Jahmyr Gibbs, Don't Know says pay him. Detroit got lucky that Breece Hall got franchised, so they still get to set the market. Yeah, I mean that would have pushed all that back, right? So that increases the number. If the idea is to pay If they're going to pay Gibbs, pay him now. That's what I would say. I don't know that I would make that decision if I'm the GM. I don't know that I would do that. I also don't know that I would have let David Montgomery just go away. That's another topic I want to bring up today, guys, and you might not like this, but I just think, David Montgomery came out with the speech and the audio recording and thanking Detroit and all this stuff, and a lot of people like Dave Montgomery. I like Dave Montgomery as a player. He seems like a good guy, funny character, this isn't a personal knock on the guy, but what I don't love is his farewell. I love you, Detroit, blah, 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 but I would never consider being your second running back. Like, I don't know if that rubs me the right way. And I'm not saying he should have left in like an evil way or like send Detroit hate mail, but just a simple thank you, goodbye would have been fine. But instead it's this drawn out, love me, love me, love me. And make sure that when I come back with the Houston Texans that you give me my standing ovation versus I was still under contract with you and could have been a part of the best running back duo in the league for another season heading towards a Super Bowl. But instead he did what was right for David Montgomery, which again, I guess you can't blame the man, but I'm not going to go, oh, Detroit Lions, oh, I loved you as a Lion, David, oh, because he wanted out. He wanted out. He wasn't getting enough from the Lions, and he asked to be traded. And so the organization accommodated him, found him the exact spot he wanted, and made it happen. Now, thank goodness Brad Holmes, and as much as I'll knock Brad Holmes sometimes, he did well in this transaction. He was able to get the Lions a 4th-round pick in return, a 7th, and an interior offensive lineman to play with. And we can argue another point that Juice Scruggs could be a guy, isn't a guy. Is he a throw-in? Is he a depth piece? Could he even battle for a starting at center? I heard that today. A starting center? Is Juice Scruggs going to be the Lions' starting center? I don't know if I buy that. I don't know if I buy a failed interior offensive lineman out of Houston who really has not a great offensive line is the answer for the Detroit Lions at center. He might be a depth piece. And because he's so young, I think he's only 26, I think they could potentially, with Hank Fraley, build him back into something where he could be a guard for them or a backup center for them. And I'm okay with that. I don't not like the player. It's good that they got the guy, but I'm also not going to pretend like he's the answer or that then is the solution to the problems. But I do think that Brad got as much value out of this that he could have. I really do, because the talk was a 5th-round pick. Well, he got a 4th and a 7th and a player and put David in the best situation possible for him. So it was a win-win all around, I think, but I'm also not going to sit here and feel bad for David Montgomery. Chat's starting to pick up. I appreciate you guys. Lupe says, Brad tends to move on from players that are in a position that he drafts. I think McNeil is going not to be on the team soon, maybe in a trade. Interesting. I mean, he certainly underperformed last year, Lupe. That would be a candidate. That'd be interesting. I just wonder what the move would be in return, because they need as much defensive lineman as they can get. And McNeil, his upside is still there. So let's see what he gives the team. Detroit Fanman says, my money's on Tate before Scruggs at center, no matter how juicy he is. Hey, that right there deserves well said, friend. Well said. Very well said. I wonder, and we talked about this with Don't Know Grit last week, Thursday. I'd asked him if he felt the Tate Ratledge transition is still a possibility or a reality, and it sounds like it could be. The team has not closed the door on that, but some people have also said that Tate Ratledge has closed that door himself. So let's see. No, okay, and you're right, Don't Know. I'm not writing off Scruggs. I'm not writing him off. So maybe I was too harsh, but what I am saying is I'm not going to take that and go, oh my God, the Lions got their starting center. I just feel like that is such an overstretched statement for what we've seen, the sample size he's given so far. Could he work into something? Potentially. And look, you know me, Don't Know Grit. I'm glad to be wrong with this. Believe me, if he comes in and can give the Lions something at center or guard, even in a transition, I'm good with it. And that means it still is a victory for them in this trade. Rob Jackson says, I think we're doing a fire sale this year. Well, right now, I mean, the thing is, they're worse today than they were last week at this time. So it's like we're still waiting for all the positive momentum to start building. I mean, keep in mind, guys, we got free agency still. We got the draft. We got a lot of things ahead of us. It's just a hard couple days when you see a running back that was a fan favorite say goodbye. Don't know says he had his best season as a center. Then he got shifted away from center, which was his stronger position. Then last year he was back on the line that had been completely rebuilt out of position again. Well, let's hope through all those shifts and all that remaneuvering that is what caused him to be kind of a throwaway in this trade. And I really hope you're right. And you're right. Then they got hit with a ton of injuries. It was a bad spot. He's young. It's a great grab. If you're going to get anything out of it, it gives you something to work with, and it's a position of need. So I'm okay with it. I'm not knocking it. I'm not going to sit here and let people tell me he's the starting center. That's all. My first ever chug. Hey, man, Detroit family, you earned it. You were here first today. I really appreciate that. I honestly do a lot. Shifting priorities here over the course of the next couple of weeks, potentially. So you guys hanging in there with me, I very much appreciate it. Remember, Johnny Gaz Live, Facebook and YouTube at Johnny Gaz Sports. That's the best way to find me. I'm on all the other socials, and I post content every single day. But if you love the lives, Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, YouTube, or right at my Facebook page there. I appreciate you guys. Don't know says, no, he's a solid backup piece, in my opinion. Who you aren't worried if he has to give you significant snaps. Yeah, right. I mean, I just think they still need to go find that center. I'd still like for them to look for a tackle or some sort of offensive lineman early on in the draft. I don't think that move changes that plan. What's up, Stephen Cobb? How you doing, buddy? He says, I think all our Michigan teams get rid of what works. They had an antidote and get rid of it players. I mean, I guess the argument there, you must be a David Montgomery fan. It sounds like, Steven. I mean, it's a tough way to see him go. But again, what I just said, I think I want to reiterate here. He asked to leave. You know, this is my opinion, but based on what Brad Holmes said, and then obviously what now has transpired, David Montgomery was not happy with the current situation. The Lions were not going to shift their priority when it comes to who should get the carries, who's the more dynamic back, who gives you a better chance to win. But the truth is, I think he wanted out, and the Lions accommodated him. So I don't know that they were getting rid of players. I think they were doing what's right by a player, and they did what they could to get something in return. I think they did an okay job. Don't know Grit says, I was married before I subbed to Johnny Gaz, but I'm happily married since subscribing. That's good. I appreciate that the happy married pills are paying off for you, man. Between you and Trim, my medication line is really taken off. And I never thought I'd be sponsored by Procter & Gamble, but man, I'll tell you what, those big conglomerates, they pay well. Those checks are hitting hard. No, I'm happy for you, man. I appreciate you're a part of the channel. Don't know Grit. Make sure to check him out. All the socials. I found him on TikTok. And his TikTok channel is growing. So definitely go check him out. Brad Holmes said it was up to Demo. Campbell said it was up to Demo. Josh said it was up to Demo. That narrative didn't come from nowhere. Yeah, I mean, they did a really good job of saying it without like making him the bad guy or making it feel like he had done something wrong. I mean, I think those guys respect him. I'm not saying it's like, again, it's not personal. It's business. That's what this is. But when fans get involved, there's a lot of feeling there, and I want to put it in perspective. It's like we appreciate the time Demo gave the Lions. I loved watching him. There's a lot of great moments, and he was a part of this rebuild to where they are now, and we won't forget that. But guys like Jamal Williams, DeAndre Swift, they were sort of the first comings of what now this is. And those releases or trades or however those worked out made best for the Lions. So will this move also be a good move and move them towards a championship. And that's what this whole live is about, is building a champion. Are the Detroit Lions building a champion? Some would say it's hard to feel that way right now because, again, we go back to the roster, and we talked about this with Don't Know Grit as far as where the roster was week 1 last year and where it might be this year. And right now it seems like it's in a worse position. So it's hard to create that positivity. It says, yes, sir, not just him. Tigers, Pistons, Red Wings, they just let the best things go. Well, let's try again. And I'm with you, man. I get it. Longtime Lions fans especially understand that very much, Steven. But I think right now, Detroit sports is in a good spot. I mean, we're talking Lions, but we're talking about them because they're on the cusp of something. You could argue whether it's a cusp of another playoff berth or a Super Bowl, the severity of what cusp, right? But the Pistons are close. They're the top team in the East. They'll have a good shot at making a run to the NBA Finals, and who knows? The Tigers are building through their farm system. They've revamped their pitching staff for this season, and they're going for it. So there's a lot of good ahead of both those franchises. The Red Wings, although inconsistent right now, they're competing for another year. I think they have the right coach. They have a lot of the right pieces, and I think they're a move or two away from really competing for a championship. But again, I think a positive direction. So let's see. Detroit fan man says, Monty wants to be a number 1 somewhere before he can't play anymore. He's 28 now, kind of his last chance. We got a nice return. It is a win-win. It absolutely is. It's the right situation for Monty. Let's see how he does in Houston behind that offensive line. I just hope that isn't a grass is always greener situation, but I totally understand what you mean, Detroit fan man. He wasn't going to get number 1 back carries here. That's the reality of it. And if he's looking for one more large contract, then that's a better opportunity, I think, for him there. Because the Lions weren't going to pay him more money here. That's the truth. Don't know says, I was so bummed when we sent Williams packing. Then we signed Demo, and I forgot about him completely. So who knows? Who is that signature this year? Who's the Demo that makes up for the loss of Montgomery? That's right. I don't even know if Houston has an offensive line right now. We just stole one of them. But David Montgomery is going to find out very quickly. But, maybe he fits in well there. I mean, that's sort of one of the things that they were missing on top of the consistency in the offensive line. Quarterback play's got to be more consistent. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in Houston, but it's not a bad spot. And in the AFC, I think he can compete there. So I'm not rooting against David Montgomery at all. Not one bit. The other thing we didn't touch on, it kind of went, I don't want to say, it did go unnoticed, but I think because of what happened with David Montgomery, sort of went under the radar, is the Graham Glasgow release. So Lions release veteran Graham Glasgow to clear cap space, and along with the fact that he just was struggling last year, saves $5.5 million in 2026, and don't know, maybe you can check me on that. Glasgow was a staple on this Detroit line for many years. He had multiple stints with the organization, played both guard and center, and anchored the offensive line in the front 5 communication. He was a tough player. The departure creates, again, that center occupancy. And I know that we just talked about Scruggs, and he could potentially compete for a depth role there. But I really think it reemphasizes the need for the Lions to hit on interior offensive linemen early in the draft. And that's assuming they don't hit it in free agency. Because as we discussed with Don't Know Grit last week, maybe the more important move would be for the Lions to maybe hit this early. Maybe hit it in free agency before the draft. So you feel even more confident about the guy you put at center or guard. Thank you, Don't Know. Yeah, so he confirmed 5.5. I just want to make sure I'm not off base. So do the Lions then turn to the internal Tate Ratledge? Do they just shift him over? Is that the center? And then they go about this by using Frazier and Mahogany. And now, obviously, you have Scruggs and the combination of linemen you already had built in for depth. Can you work it that way? Does Scruggs fill a gap for you while you draft a young offensive lineman? Or do you attack this in free agency, which is really, I think, their best plan? Obviously, Linderbaum, McGovern, and then the few others we had laid out last week are the obvious choices, but will they be too expensive for what the Lions are willing or able to do this offseason? But Glasgow had a very nice farewell message. And again, comparing that exit versus David's, that's to me the difference in the sincerity of reading Glasgow's message versus David's. And again, I'm not saying they don't mean those words. Like David could mean all of it, but it's hard to take that to heart when we know how he exited David Montgomery versus Graham Glasgow, which was truly us, the Lions releasing him. So really, what does this mean? When we're talking about building a champion, we talked about D-Mel, Glasgow, where the Lions stand currently as they head to free agency in the draft. Jahmyr Gibbs is the lead back. What do they do with his contract? All indications are they're most likely going to sign him. Sounds like $22 million is sort of the number right now. So keep that in mind, because I think we might hear about that sooner than later. Is that the right move? I'm not so sure. But the longer you wait, the larger that contract gets. And if their track history says anything, they're going to pay their guys. So I would expect that Jahmyr Gibbs is the next one to fall in line there. Detroit now has more draft picks, younger offensive linemen with Scruggs, but they still need more reinforcements up front. We just talked about that. My plan would be to hit it in free agency hard, see what you can get, and then continue to build through the draft. Center spot being the priority. I think they can shift some things at guard. So that's where I would start with this. Depth, flexibility. Obviously, they need to rework this cap before any of this happens. We're still waiting to hear if they restructure Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell. There's a lot of open contracts that they could rearrange to open up some cap space. So we're kind of waiting to hear on that as well. But in talking about the draft capital, again, this is where the Brad Holmes trade made so much sense for David Montgomery. They recoup a 4th-round pick. So now the Lions have the 1st-round pick, 17th overall, the 2nd-round pick, which is the 50th overall. They still don't have a 3rd-round pick, but now they have 2 4th-round picks, their own and the one they were acquired from Houston, a 5th, 2 6th-rounders, and a 7th-rounder. We know what Brad Holmes likes to do with those later-round picks, potentially a package up to get back into the 3rd round. Could there be other moves out there? There's still a compensatory pick that could add an additional pick to this list here. So I think what that means is they'll have options. Instead of a single mid-round pick, they now have multiple selections across day 2 and day 3. And we know what Brad Holmes can do with that. And it's really important this season that they hit and they hit and they hit. Because with the amount of high-priced contracts they're looking like they're going to pay, Jahmyr Gibbs being one of them, they need impact rookies. So more picks, the better. Don't know says the compensatory pick should be a 5th-rounder, so then they would have 2 4ths, 2 5ths, 2 6ths. You can do a lot with those picks there. You can package a lot of that up. You can do a lot of things. So you got to feel good about that. Steven says, yeah, I think Graham wanted to stay, but dropped off bad over the years. Feel bad for him. Yeah, I mean, he was a staple. And I think there's a guy that a lot of Lions fans respect. I know guys within the organization and locker room respect Graham Glasgow. But really, that was a veteran cap casualty and a guy that was really fading. I think he gave you that one more good year, but we saw how the offensive line fell off. It's not his fault necessarily, but when you go from all-pro Frank Ragnow to Graham Glasgow, there's going to be a dip. And unfortunately, that happened pretty hard last year. If you guys have not already, please make sure to slap that like button. It's the best free way to help out the channel. Try to get as many likes on the stream here today so we can get more people involved in the future. If you can share the stream out to your friends and family, your Facebook feeds, let people know what's going on YouTube so they can come and see us on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern at Johnny Gaz Sports. But I post content across all of those social networks each and every day, spanning all of the Detroit sports. Lions, Tigers, Pistons, Red Wings, even hitting on a little bit of Spartans here and there. Steven says, same with Taylor Decker, but I want him to stay. We need him and owe him a championship. Well, Taylor's coming back. That's the good thing. I mean, I think that sort of started the trend of now what's happening with some of these other players. They were able to kind of see what they had in front of them. I think Taylor Decker is the right piece to have for the Lions to then retool their offensive line this year, but I think they have to consider a tackle behind Taylor Decker because, number one, you just don't know how long he lasts. Can he make it a full season? How strong is he, even if he does make it a full season? And the truth is, if he's not healthy and he fades out, you got to have a plan. And we talked about that very heavily last Thursday with that Don't Know Grit. Yeah, nah. That's where I'll leave it. But yeah, quick recap here. Fortunately, the Pistons did drop the game to the Cavs this evening, 113-109. Pistons now stand at 45-15, 21-8 away this year. What a great road record. And they snapped, I think it was a 6-game road winning streak today. But James Harden kind of helped lead the Cavs without Donovan Mitchell. That's a good win for Cleveland for sure. And Cleveland was talking a lot of trash this last week about how they're not in the same league, or the Pistons aren't in the same league as the Cavs. Unfortunately, a win like this helps that case out a little bit. We'll see if the Pistons can regroup. They have a huge game upcoming again with San Antonio on Thursday evening. That should be a great matchup. Yeah, you know what's funny? Don't know. I couldn't watch the game live. I was following closely through the game cast. And what I noticed is that obviously the points weren't racking up for Cade today. He had plenty of assists. So he found a way to contribute. That's what MVPs do. But yeah, it seemed like, and you let me know, was the Cavaliers defense stacking up on him today? Were they treating him any differently than, let's say, the other teams have been treating him? I would say San Antonio did something a little bit similar. And they may have showed the blueprint on sort of how to really slow down the Pistons MVP. Let's see if he adjusts. Let's see if the offense could adjust in a way to help that out. It's been a tough stretch, and Cade has truly been carrying this team. It's just natural that maybe he has a light game like this. And I talked about it. Maybe it's a look ahead. Again, you know, I mean, the Cavs are a good team, but they want revenge, I would say, on the Spurs. So they have a chance at that on Thursday. Should be an interesting game. 8 o'clock Thursday. And we'll be live during that game. So come back and see me on Thursday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll be covering Pistons live that evening, along with all the other Detroit news and updates. Have we used the player that we traded for yet? Lupe, I think you're talking about Kevin Huerter for the Pistons. And I would say they've used him extremely lightly in their rotation. I just don't think it's hard for him to get minutes in the current rotation because he wasn't coming in shooting the lights out. His percentage was not great this year. Besides, and I think my guess is that working him in practices and some other things that just hasn't really paid off to where they're confident to give him more play. So I just think they're more comfortable putting Ausir Thompson and Ron Holland out there more so than Kevin Huerter. And obviously Duncan Robinson's ahead of him. I don't know. I mean, that Kevin Huerter move is not a difference-making move. Clearly, unless some things start to change in the rotation, that just is not impactful. So to me, it was more about getting rid of Jaden Ivey and finding something in return that might just be a very short-term transition. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. I mean, if you're going to step in and play with what the Pistons need right now, they need shooting. They need three-point shooting. And again, I'll go back to it today. The prime example, and again, I wasn't watching it live, but by following the play-by-play, it's almost funny. You clearly see it in your mind, and the quick hits are the thing that you need to see what's actually happening. So, for instance, in this case, Pistons were down 108-105 with under 2 minutes to play. Ausir Thompson has an opportunity at a three-point shot to tie the game. He misses that shot. Pistons then turn the ball over. Harden makes a shot and kind of puts this game out of reach. Duncan Robinson also had another opportunity after that, a three. He then misses. So even in a night where they're not having a terrible shooting game, and I'll pull up the stats for us here. Pull up the box score. So they shot decent, 51% field goal percentage, 38% from three, which, neither of that is shooting the lights out, but it's better than what they had been in a few games prior. Their free throw percentage is still not great, 76%. I mean, it's not awful today, but again, they get to the line a lot. They need to shoot the ball better at the line if they're not going to make the three ball. So Cade Cunningham, only 10 points today. Yeah, it's light for him. It really was 0 for 3 from three. 6 rebounds, but had the 14 assists. He also turned the ball over 5 times. So Cade Cunningham just not a great night for him. It's an off night, truly. Well, let's give him benefit of the doubt. I mean, the Pistons were really running a hot streak as far as on the road. They've had a tough stretch of games here, and it will end on Thursday again with the Spurs. Let's look ahead at their schedule. They have Spurs on March 5th. Then they kind of get a little reprieve with Brooklyn, Miami, Philly, Memphis, Toronto, Washington. So they actually go on a decent stretch of games. They're winnable games. Winnable games after this tough stretch against San Antonio. So let's see what the Pistons do in this final tough road stand, and then we'll kind of round back into form as the Pistons then have the rest of March through the mid-April, and then we're talking playoffs. So it's going to be a fun push. It's going to be a great last half of the season, and I'm going to be on top of it. Definitely make sure to check out at Johnny Gaz Sports. I will have daily Detroit sports content, more and more Pistons content as this season ramps up and gets close to the playoffs. It's going to be so much fun. Duncan Robinson had 2 blocks tonight, so that was weird. I did not see either one of those. I can look that up. Love that. Never question this team's defense. Never question their grittiness in the paint. I don't question that at all. And they're going to have to truly lean on that. That's the way they win games. Yeah, they shot the 3 a little better tonight. Tobias Harris picked up for Cade Cunningham. I don't know. I didn't think Tobias was that great tonight from what I saw. Let's see where he ended up. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he picked it up in the second half. 19 points total for Tobias, 6 to 12, 1 of 3 from 3, 5 rebounds. They really need Tobias Harris. I mean, that's where the shooting's going to come from. He's not necessarily a three-point dagger guy, but Tobias Harris can be streaky, and if he can get on a good streak, especially in the playoffs, that would be ideal for the Pistons. We talked about the Tigers and what's been going on in spring training. We saw Kevin McGonigle have a home run against one of the teams in the World Baseball Classic prep games today. Several RBIs on the day, and he's really been raking in spring training. Should he be the shortstop starting for the Tigers on opening day? And I think Kevin McGonigle is making a great case. And then we hit on the Red Wings and Coach Todd McClellan calling some of their players just jerseys. And what does that mean for the motivation of the team moving forward? And does that entice Steve Yzerman to make a move, to add a piece, add a player that's not just a jersey, to put this team over the top to get them into the playoffs for the Red Wings? A lot of positive things ahead for these teams, I'm telling you. Continental Football League. I had to look that up, Lupe. I know this is off topic, but are you going to follow the COFL Michigan Arrows? I will absolutely look into it. Again, I'm not local to Michigan anymore, So getting access to some of that footage is very difficult in upstate New York. But absolutely, any kind of football in Michigan, I will follow it. If it breeds any good content or breeds any good players or reason to react, absolutely. I think that's cool. Scheduled to launch the summer of 2026, a revival of the original 1965 to 1969 league, focusing on a fan-driven model with 8 teams playing in June and July as a developmental platform for the NFL. Interesting. Appreciate you bringing that up, Lupe. I didn't know much about it. Indianapolis Capitals, Michigan Arrows, Ohio Valley Ironmen. Plans for Northern and Southern divisions as well. Interesting. Different kind of rules. All right, so there's a lot to look into here. I won't get into it today, Lupe, but I appreciate you bringing that up. Absolutely. I mean, if not for the Michigan Arrows aspect, I will look into it. Anything that's experimental with the NFL. They've taken things from the UFL game. They took things from the XFL. Things that were developed and done are now being implemented into the NFL game, whether it be through broadcasts or on-field or rule changes. So those things make a difference. So watching those games in those leagues, I think it's important. Don't know, so San Antonio has a team. All right, so hey, we got rooting interest. So when San Antonio plays the Michigan Arrows, we should go live together. We should do a live broadcast, and we should simulcast it. Let's do it. You're going down, baby. Wonder what they're called. The San Antonio. I bet you something like it's like cowboy or horse related, or come up with something original down there. Damn. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, it should be good. Lupe, great call out there. I appreciate that. I'm looking into that a lot heavier now, and now we have a reason to root against San Antonio. That's going to be great. It's going to be great. The Toros. San Antonio Toros. I like that. I mean, come on. Not that far away from what I was talking about, but it makes sense. It all makes sense. I like that. So we got the Michigan Arrows versus the San Antonio Toros. I love it. Michigan Arrows. I wonder where they got that from. The Arrows. Was that one of the original teams back in 65? The league emphasizes community-based, fan-driven ownership. Interesting. So is there an ownership group in Michigan? And if so, do we know anything about who owns them? There is something, if I had enough money, and I don't, that I would want to, I want to invest in something like that, like a small town football team. That sounds so cool. So let's round this out. I want to ask you guys that are still in the chat hanging out with me, if you have not yet gotten involved in the chat, make sure to come in and say hello. We are such a friendly bunch. Nobody's here to judge you. You can say what you want within reason. Okay? Let's keep it PC, but you know what I'm saying. You're welcome here. Say hello. Tell us a little about yourself. What's your favorite team? Do you root for the Lions? Do you root against the Lions? If you're a Packers fan, just go. I'm just kidding. I welcome everyone here. I really do. Criticism, pessimism, optimism, all the isms. We're about that all here at Johnny Gaz Sports. That's what we're about. And again, if you haven't already, hit that like button for me. It's the best free way to help out the channel. We're going to end the live here in just a few minutes. If you can slap that like button for me, it is the best way to tell Facebook that we got something good going on here. We need to send this puppy out. Shift it out there, Lupe says, yes, based on indigenous culture, and the owner is boss up and ball out owner Mike Jones. Thank you. Great. Okay, so the Arrow, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. I like that. Hey, he's got the money. That makes a lot of sense. I love it. Before talking in the chat, I was bald. I'm still bald, but happier. That's it. So if you have a set of hair, you could maintain that exact set of hair by getting involved in the chat here. It's a perk to Johnny Gaz Sports. Your hair will stay the same or not be there if it's not already there. I don't know. Isn't that the cheap tequila with the tiny red hat as the lid? What is? Dan talked with Michigan owners team. That's cool. Oh, I missed that one. Dang. He's got the good interviews, man. We almost linked up the other day. I couldn't make it happen. I felt so bad. I asked him for a rain check. So hopefully I'll be on the show here sometime soon with Dan at Lions Talk Live. We'll piece it together. I like Dan a lot. El Toro. Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Back in the day, man. For me, it wasn't tequila. It was Captain Morgan spiced rum. Ugh. Like, that was just the drink that just happened to be around a lot back in the day for me when I was in high school and college. Underage drinking is bad. The more you know. That's going to do it for tonight, guys. I appreciate you so much. We were a little limited in our platforms this evening, but that was purposeful. Trying to see what kind of response we get as we go live naturally to Just Johnny Gaz Sports on Facebook and Just Johnny Gaz Sports on YouTube. So if you haven't already checked one of those two avenues out and subscribed, please do so. Again, that is completely free. Yes, I have memberships in either option, and I have a ton of fun content that you can get into if you'd like at a small monetary fee, but I have free content posted every single day on every social, any social that you interact with. If you search for @JohnnyGazSports, you will find fun, reliable, concise Detroit sports content for free. And I do that for you guys because I love Detroit sports. I love hanging out with you guys. Having this community has been fantastic. Appreciate you guys in chat. Detroit Fan Man, Jeff, Don't Know Grit, Stephen Cobb, Lupe, all you guys. Big time. You were all over the chat today. Rob Jackson was here. Appreciate everyone. You guys are amazing. Subscribe to both. Same price, twice the gas. That's it, baby. That's it, brother. I love it. And while you're hitting the subscribe buttons, you might as well click just one more time at Don't Know Grit. Let me tell you, absolutely fantastic, reliable Detroit news, notes, and updates. Draft coverage, free agent coverage. Fun content. I'm telling you, Don't Know Grit. It gets better and better every time I watch a video for you, and I truly mean that. The quality, the presentation, the information's always been good. It's always been good. Appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you guys. More than anything else, take care of yourself and your mental health. That is so important. I'm not just saying that. It's more important than anything. If you can't take care of this, you can't take care of anything else. If you need help taking care of that, talk to somebody. Call someone, text someone, email somebody, walk in and have a conversation with somebody at a store. Shoot me a message on Facebook, on YouTube. I'm here for you. I want to make sure you guys come back and see me on future videos. More than anything, I appreciate you guys being a part of Johnny Gaz Sports. I really do. It means the world to me. Come back on Thursday. We'll have a lot of fun topics. We'll be talking the Pistons and Spurs. We'll see if the Lions make any additional moves, sign any contracts. Are there any free agents out there that could come into play? We're really a ticking time bomb when it comes to Lions football in this offseason. I feel it. I appreciate you guys. Have a fantastic rest of your evening. As always, go Lions.